Hello everyone, I'm Piyush Rahate, your learning partner on this channel. In today's episode, we will explore one of the recommended but optional activities in Scrum, and that is product backlog refinement. So stay tuned. Product backlog refinement is one of the optional activities in Scrum, although it is highly important to do product backlog refinement to keep your product backlog in a healthy state. So what do we mean by keeping the product backlog in a healthy state? Well, having a product backlog in a healthy state means that the developer should be able to pick up the work from the product backlog in their upcoming sprint planning and should be able to come up with a done increment from it. This will not be possible if they are looking at the requirements for the first time during their sprint planning. To avoid this, we recommend that you should be doing a product backlog refinement every sprint. Now, the need of this product backlog refinement will typically depend upon the context of the team, the maturity of the team. If the teams are completely new to the particular domain, they do not have the right skills, then probably they will have to put in more effort doing the product backlog refinement so that they understand the requirements well. However, on the other hand, if the teams are highly matured, they have been working with that particular domain of product for a long time and they are kind of doing the same work repeatedly, then typically what they require is lesser amount of product backlog refinement. That is, they will be very much accustomed to kind of work that they are doing. So, is there a recommended amount of time that a team should spend in product backlog refinement? No. It all depends upon how much knowledge does the team has about the product. And based on that, the amount of effort, amount of time that they want to spend in product backlog refinement may vary. Now the next question is, what do we do in product backlog refinement? Well, there are three things that are required to be done at product backlog refinement in order to create transparency with the product backlog. Number one, add details. In product backlog refinement, we pick up a requirement and we try to add as much details as possible to it so that everyone has a clear understanding of what the requirement is about. Number two, add or modify the order or sequence of the requirements. Oftentimes, it happens that while we are adding details, we might figure out that a particular requirement can be broken down into smaller chunks. For example, a requirement such as login can be broken down into login through multi-factor authentication or login with single sign-on, which further can be divided into even granular chunks such as multi-factor authentication with OTP, that is one-time password, or multi-factor authentication using MS Authenticator. Now, although we started with one requirement which was login, now it can be broken down into multiple smaller chunks. Login with multi-factor authentication via OTP, login with multi-factor authentication via MS Authenticator, and so on and so forth. When that happens, we have multiple requirements. Now, which should be done first? And that is where the sequencing, the ordering of the product backlog becomes important. This is the product owner's choice based on various factors such as business value, priority, risks, implementation workflow, or development cohesion, or a combination of all of that. A product owner may choose what needs to be done first and may help the Scrum team to come up with the order of the requirements that were newly identified. That is our second step in product backlog refinement. The third step that we perform in product backlog refinement is adding or updating the size of requirements. That is, putting an estimate to the requirements. Well, this typically is done through the activity called planning poker, a good handy tool to identify the size or estimates of your requirements. Scrum does not prescribe any specific way or any specific unit to estimate. Teams may choose what works in their context. They can use t-shirt sizes or story points or even hours if that makes sense in their context. All Scrum requires is we need to have some estimate on the requirements so that it can be used in future to make forecast of how much work can be done within the next sprint. And that's it. These are the three steps that we do in our product backlog refinement. Number one, add details, add or modify the order, and add or update the size or estimate of your requirements. I hope you found this video useful. If you want more such content, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and click on that notify button so that you are notified of new content.